All right, we're back with another one, ladies and gentlemen. And today it's my college football playoff rankings. We do this every week. Um, Not a lot has really changed this week. A couple teams moved down, but pretty much the same. We're starting at number 12 with Boise State, and pretty much they haven't did anything. They had a bye week. This week they have a big game coming up on Friday against UNLV. That's one to watch because these are the two top teams in the Mountain West Conference. So whoever wins this has a good shot at making the playoff as the 12 seed. So I like Boise State to eke out that win against UNLV. It's going to be a tough one. Looks like a lot of people like Boise State, but I'm rocking with it. I like Ashton Gentry. I think he'll keep breaking that Barry Sanders record. So shout out to Boise State. Now number 11, they're moving on up. They got a nice win this week against Georgia Tech and Notre Dame. And this is a team that has a nice path to make the playoff. All they got to do is beat Navy this week. Navy is ranked. I know a lot of people wouldn't believe that if we started the season. I would tell you that Navy will be ranked this season, but they are. If Notre Dame beats Navy, wins out, beats Army as well, they will make the playoff. Number 10, this team has been a surprise all season. Iowa State still undefeated. They had a nail biter against UCF this week. They're still undefeated. They're on a bye week, so they will stay at this 10 slot. I haven't moved them up because I feel like they're a little fraudulent, but we'll see. We got number 9, Clemson. This team's been on a roll. They haven't moved either, but I mean, what can I say? They haven't really played any much competition. Ever since that loss to Georgia, this team has been winning by 20 plus. They've been handling business, so can't say anything bad about Clemson. But I do look forward to them possibly playing Miami in the ACC championship. So we'll see about that some weeks coming. Number 8, the Vols. This team has moved up on my list. I believe they were like 11 or 12. And the Volunteers, man, they beat Bama this past week. It was a tough game, but they pulled it out. I had a feeling Tennessee would win that game. Bama hasn't looked the same since that Vandy loss. And I can't say anything bad about Tennessee. They do still have Georgia left on the schedule. So if they can just get through, they'll take that loss to Georgia. We all know that. They're going to lose that game. But then with 2 losses in the SEC, I think they can get in the playoffs. So let's keep an eye on Tennessee and the Volunteers. Number 7, LSU. How about those Tigers? Been riding these Tigers ever since they lost to USC. They have a great quarterback, great coach, great offensive line. Their defense is still suspect. They have a big, huge game. They play Texas A&M this week. Both of these teams are undefeated in the SEC. I think LSU loses. Spoiler alert. I just have to tell you that right now.
Hmm.
But remains to be seen. They're number 7 on the list. If they lose next week, they won't be on this list. So we'll see what LSU does this week. Number 6, Texas. How about those Longhorns? Took a loss to Georgia. I mean, not surprising. Me and Jack talked about that last week. We had Georgia winning that game, and they did pull it out. They were underdogs, a rare Georgia as an underdog. You would have to take that blindly, but Texas got manhandled in that game. They didn't look good from the start. And the reason Texas is still up here because it's Texas. They only got 1 loss to Georgia, but looking back, they don't have any great wins. That Michigan win doesn't look great now, and that Oklahoma win doesn't look great at all. So at this point, Texas has to win out and
Mm-hmm.
possibly I don't know if they can lose to that Texas A&M game. Maybe they'll still make it if they lose to Texas A&M that's left on their schedule, but Texas needs to win and win out big. Number 5, Ohio State only lost to Oregon. It's their only slip up, and they lost by 3. So I couldn't move Ohio State down much more. They have a big game next week against Penn State, so we'll see how that shakes out. Number 4, Miami. This team has been getting by a lot, winning a lot of close games, but hey, they're undefeated. Cam Ward is still in the Heisman hunt. I like this Miami team. I like their line. I like their playmakers on the edge. I like their running back. So I see this team making the playoffs. They just have to get to the ACC championship and possibly beat Clemson. All right, number 3, Penn State. Drew Aller. This team's undefeated as well. They're looking good. James Franklin always has his team playing well. They have a tough game this week and a tough game next week. This week they're playing Wisconsin on the road. I think they'll pull out that win. A lot of people think that'll be an upset spot for them, but I think they pull out that win against Wisconsin, face off against Ohio State, and possibly take a L. If they only have one L, this team will definitely stay in these rankings. So shout out to Penn State. Number 2, Georgia Bulldogs. And I had a hard time. I wanted to put Georgia at 1, but I couldn't do it just because they got that loss to Alabama. Shout out to Georgia. This is a team that's built to win championships. Kirby Smart always has his guys ready to go. Can't really say anything bad about Georgia. They look great in that win against Texas. They dominated. So Georgia will stay at this number 2 spot. And number 1, Oregon. Shots out to Oregon, the Ducks. They beat Ohio State. They've been rolling. They smashed Purdue last week. So Oregon's looking like they have a nice path to be undefeated until the Big Ten title. That remains to be seen, but this team is a lock to make the playoff. I believe I look at their odds, they're like minus 1,200 or something crazy to make the playoff. So there you have it. Those are the college football playoff rankings. How you feel about them, Jack?
I mean, you're the man with this. I mean, I like it. Makes a lot of sense. That Texas take, man. I mean, they better not lose to A&M, like you said. I thought I was like, they can't lose to A&M, and I thought, but I was like, they could actually. They might. I hope they don't. I saw like a rumor was on Twitter. Ewers was stepping out the rest of the season to get ready for the draft, but then they shot that down really quick. Like, no, he's playing this week. So I was like, there's just something going on over there with Texas, man. I think they were giving out too many Lambos on the recruiting trip or something, but they'll figure it out. I think they'll make the playoffs, man. But do you think, I guess my question bounces back to you. I know you have Oregon at 1. Do you think Dylan Gabriel takes them all the way, and do you think he ends up a first-round draft pick?
I do believe he'll be a first-round draft pick, to your second question. They have the tools to go all the way, but for some reason, I don't know what it is. It's like they're missing something. They have the speed. Maybe it's the O-line. Maybe it's that.
Probably, because they always have the speed. So
they always have the speed. They have the playmakers. I like their coach, Dan Lanning. He's a good coach. But I see them, if they faced off against a Georgia or, a team with a great line.
I don't see them beating Georgia.
I don't see them beating them, man. I just don't. But they do have the tools.
And like with Dylan Gabriel, isn't this kind of like I hate to say it because I actually like the kid, especially off of how I saw him play last year and what he did there. But isn't it kind of like I'm kind of getting like this Bryce Young feeling all over again, almost in a way. Does that make sense? Like when he gets to the NFL, I think a team, instead of trying to start him right away, should sit him for a year behind somebody so he can just get the feel of the game right. Because he's a smaller guy, isn't he?
Yes, he's a smaller
just to
guy.
get the feel of the game right before you throw him out. Don't just throw him out there to the wolves and think he's going to take your team to the promised land and change everything immediately. If you're going to draft him, I think you should just definitely mentor him and, make sure he has somebody, to put him under their wing and give him some tutelage, give him the tools to win. Because he's a winner kid. I just don't think you don't draft him number 1, top 10 or something, think he's going to come in and change everything, overnight. That's just my opinion. But then again, he might be that person. I don't know.
Yeah, because the problem with those smaller quarterbacks, as we've seen like with Bryce Young, and I hate to bring him up again, but he was on Alabama. They have a good line. You know what I'm saying? So that's not going to show. But when you go to the Panthers, to the worst team, and you have no O-line, you're not going to be able to do anything. And right now, Oregon's looking good. They have a solid line. So Gabriel, yeah, he can make plays. But when you go to NFL, it's another ball game. So right now, the smallest quarterback that I would like, that I would think would do good in the league is maybe Shedeur Sanders, just because he doesn't have an O-line. So
he's not like too small, isn't he? 6'2"?
Yeah, he's not too small.
Yeah, no, that's regular size. That's the size they look for.
Yeah, he's not too small. But Gabriel, yeah, he might have a tough showing out there in the NFL, but I do like the kid. Let's take one more quick commercial break, and then we're back.
Well, question before you do that, because we're on that topic, and then Georgia, I saw this with like the talking heads. I don't know if it was yesterday or I think it was yesterday. They were, I don't know if you agree with this. They were saying like, oh, he's like a third round quarterback now. What do you think about Ewers? Do you think his draft stock is plummet? Do you think he's like a third round? You think he's not that great of a quarterback anymore? Like, what do you think?
I still like Ewers for some
reason.
Me
too. I was thinking like I think these guys are jumping the gun a little bit.
Yeah. I wouldn't say third round, maybe second. I don't know about that, but when you look at the quarterbacks, he might be top 8-ish coming out this season. Maybe top 8 for sure. So I don't see him being no third round. No way.
I think there's potential for all that to change with this run up, and then the playoffs, depending on how that goes, is going to show where a lot of these guys end up.
Definitely.
Because if Georgia does what I think they're going to do and they rip it and win it all, and Ewers is a big, not Ewers,
Beck? Who are you talking about?
That's who I'm talking about. I messed you up. I'm talking about Beck. Yeah, I'm talking about Carson Beck. Yeah. And Carson Beck goes on a run, like I feel like he might end up a higher draft than people think.
Yeah, I think Carson Beck will be probably the third quarterback chosen. Shedeur is going to get a lot of hype, so he might go second. But Cam Ward's going number 1. If you guys are not drafting Cam Ward, the NFL scouts number 1 quarterback, you guys are tripping. I'm sorry. That kid is accurate. He can run. He's like 6'4". He has size. I mean, what else do you want in a quarterback? So,
I mean, if they were so high on Anthony Richardson, you got to be higher on this guy, right?
Right. Exactly. That's a no-brainer. Come on now. So we'll see later on. Like you said, the playoffs is going to tell a lot. A lot of people go off the playoffs, and those big moments and those big games, they actually matter to those NFL scouts. So we'll see how that works out. You ready for the next segment?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Or do you want to?
Been at it all day, shit feeling like it's non-stop. Third party hit my line saying it's the last drop. Check my Robin Hood going up like a hilltop. Drinking fresh juice, strawberry with the sour side. Before it materialized, I'm thinking abstract. Protecting all the music with BMI or the ass cap. 40 on pump 2, then tighten the gas cap. Life throws you ups and the downs just like the NASDAQ. Before it materialized.